What's up, guys? I'm back with another video. I know it's been a little bit of time, but there's been a lot just going on, and I've been really getting used to using or driving, I should say, my Model 3, and I'm really enjoying it and loving it so far. I've owned my Model 3 now for about a little over 6 months, and it's really interesting that, wouldn't you have it, that Tesla has decided to do a refresh of their Model 3. So as I go through this list of changes, I'm going to give like my thoughts and what I think about it and if you should upgrade or not. As always, remember to subscribe, click that bell so you get notifications every time I go live with a new video. And without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so the first thing that you should know is that unlike most car manufacturers that make vehicles, Tesla really doesn't do like a yearly upgrade. So outside of maybe some small changes that have happened since it was released, the 2019 and the 2020 Model 3, which is what I have, are roughly the same. So Tesla instead just does refreshes when they feel like it or when they think it's necessary. So let's take a look at the first thing that they did to the 2021 model of the Model 3. So this one's actually pretty interesting. So they increased the range on the 2021 Model 3. The long range now gets roughly about 353 miles of range from 322, and the standard range plus, which is what I have, has roughly about 263 up from 250 miles of range. Now, I think this is actually a really good thing. I don't know if it's going to make such a huge difference, but anytime you can get extra range, it's really valuable. I've heard numerous people say that range is king, and in some of my experiences of driving my vehicle over the past few months, I can really tell you that that's the truth. So if you can get more range for the same cost as my version of the Model 3, then it's well worth it. The next thing that they added, and this was just confirmed once people actually started receiving their Model 3s in person, is they actually finally added a heat pump to the Tesla Model 3. So this has been one point of contention, I guess, for a while, or kind of a sore spot about owning an electric vehicle, is your estimated range that you get, your EPA range, is typically based off of like a best case scenario. So with for example, with my Tesla Model 3, my EPA rating is 250 miles. Well, I stay in Michigan, and in the summer it either gets really really hot, and in the winter it gets really really cold. So what that does is it affects the range of my vehicle, because the energy from the battery then has to be used to also manage the AC system, which is not as bad in the summer, but in the wintertime, it is really draining on the battery to use the heat. So Tesla and Elon Musk has said for a while that it's more effective to warm your seat with the seat warmer rather than warm the cabin. But since they've added the heat pump to the refresh of the Model 3, then that's going to essentially take over for heating the cabin, and therefore make it more efficient for you to be able to drive in colder climates. So for someone like me that has such a swing back and forth in the temperature, especially in the wintertime, I really, really like the fact that they added a heat pump to the Model 3. Okay, so the next thing that they added is they added a power lift gate to the trunk of the vehicle. Now, I know I heard a lot of people complaining about this over the years, the fact that because Tesla vehicles are priced kind of at a premium price, that a power lift gate should have been included from the jump. For me, I've found that not having a power frunk or having a power trunk is not that big of a deal. I have some gripes more so about not having a power frunk than I do a power trunk. And that's just based off of the way that you have to close the frunk compared to how the trunk closes. But it is a nice additional feature that they've added, and hopefully it will help give individuals that purchase that version of the vehicle a more premium feel that they've been looking for. All right, so the next thing that they've done is they've actually went and did a chrome delete, or no longer went with the chrome on the exterior of the car. And I think it's really, really interesting because depending on what your personal taste is, you may or may not like the fact that they changed this. I happen to really like the chrome on my Model 3, but then I saw the version without the chrome, and I'm like, that looks kind of nice too. Um, but things are a little bit more streamlined over at Tesla, and since the Model Y, which is built very similarly to the Model 3, comes without the chrome, it's much more easier for them to streamline and get it out without having the chrome detail around the vehicle. So I feel like this change is more of a cosmetic change and not really a quality of life change. It doesn't change anything about how the vehicle functions or how it feels or anything like that. So it's really just a personal taste thing. I happen to like the chrome, but the chrome delete does look very nice as well. So the next thing that they've done is they've now included double pane glass. I'm gonna see if I can move this here so you guys can see the panel. So if you've never been in a Tesla before, the roof is all glass, and a lot of the areas around the vehicle are glass. And one of the larger complaints that people have had over time is wind noise. Now, where I stay, I happen to stay in a city where we don't typically get. I'm going to scoot that back just a little bit. We don't typically get a lot of heavy winds unless it's like a really bad storm or something like that. And it's really only noticeable if you're driving on the freeway. But more recently, my family and I, we took a little bit of a road trip. And so when we were on the open road and it was really windy, the wind noise was pretty atrocious. I mean, I struggled to be able to hear even just the radio or the music that I had playing because the wind noise was just so bad. So this change with going with a double pane instead of a single pane on the windows is supposed to help cut down on some of that wind noise. So that's actually a really good quality of life change, and it should help with the soundproofing inside the vehicle a little bit more. So that's one change I actually really like. On the notes here, the other thing that it mentions is it says that they fixed the trunk water leakage. So this one was actually kind of a weird design from the get-go. Um, I've experienced it a few times, and sometimes it's annoying, but I just kind of got over it really, really fast. But if you don't know, the way that the back window on the Tesla Model 3 is built, and how it just comes into the trunk, like how they align, is made actually really weird. When it rains, all of that water just kind of pools at the bottom. So if you open your trunk after it's been raining or even snowing, if you're not really careful and if you bump the vehicle at all that water just kind of spills in the trunk. And so therefore it can spill on the things that you have in there. And it's just really not good by design. So the fact that they fixed this and changed this by adding a little bit of a lip there is actually really helpful, and hopefully will keep some of that water and snow out of your trunk where it shouldn't be. Okay, the last major change that I want to cover is kind of all mixed in one. So they actually changed the center console of the Tesla Model 3. I think this was one of the more noticeable changes that people noticed right off the bat. As far as instead of having the flip up covers, it now has a sliding cover, and it still has a place to dock your phone. But instead of being concealed, it is now more of like a felt material that you can put your phones on. It has a wireless charger built into it. And underneath there where have normally been your charging ports and where you would stick like your thumb drive or SD card reader or something like that for Sentry mode, all of that has been changed. So now what they've done is they've moved the thumb drive port or the USB port for your Sentry mode drive into the glove box, and actually through a software update put it so that you can put a pin on your glove box so that no one can really get in and get access to your Sentry mode footage and pull out your thumb drive. So that's actually a really nice change. The fact that they added that, I kind of wish they would have done that from the beginning, because we make these Tesla videos so anybody that is semi-smart that may be trying to get into your car, they probably know where your thumb drive is. So that's kind of concerning now. But overall, with the design change on the inside, I actually prefer the one that I have now. I actually like having everything kind of concealed and more minimal in its appearance. I think with the change that they've done with the interior for the refresh of the Model 3, it does feel more luxury. And maybe that's one of the changes that they were going for. Maybe they were trying to address that. Well, this is a luxury vehicle, so it should feel luxury inside and out. Me personally, I like the minimal look. I like that there's like no buttons or dials, and I like that everything's kind of sleek. The piano black on the center console was very annoying. So I did recommend in a previous video that you get a center console wrap. I happened to wrap mine in matte black, and I think it looks absolutely great. So if I had to choose between those two, I actually prefer the look of the 2020 version of the Model 3. So with all of that said, would I recommend that if you have a 2018, a 2019, or a 2020 version of the Tesla Model 3, should you upgrade? I really would go out on a limb and say it really just depends on if you want these smaller incremental updates. Now, I'm not going to lie, the colder months are hitting here, and it is kind of annoying to see a decrease in my range. Sometimes it can be up to 20 or 30% that your range is dropped by. But depending on how much driving you do, and if you have charging at home like I do, it may or may not be that big of a deal. Granted, I would like to see Tesla release a software update to make better efficiency updates and upgrades so that we could get better range, but that remains yet to be seen, so we'll see if something like that happens. But I think outside of that, everything else pretty much is cosmetic. The heat pump is really interesting, the fact that they added that, and I do like that. But if you already have a version of the Model 3 that's probably not the release one, the one that came out in 2017, then I would say stick with the vehicle you have. It's still a great vehicle. I love driving this car. I get excited every time I get in the car to drive. And that new car feeling of having the vehicle just hasn't yet gone away. But for those that have ordered more recently, you're probably going to get the 2021 refresh. So consider yourself fortunate that you're getting those upgrades. And if you are fortunate enough to get this version of the vehicle, or if you just ordered a Tesla and you just received yours, let me know how you're enjoying it down in the comments. Let me know if there's anything I missed, or anything that you really love that you want to let the Tesla community know about. I would love to cover it in a later video. But with all of that being said, I'm going to end this one here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.